They looked at every door, and your name was still the only one they could knock on. They tried to move on. God pulled them back to you. Heaven whispered your name in their silence. That's when they knew. You weren't a mistake. You were the map. They chose comfort, but comfort never felt like you. Every soul they touched still echoed with your absence. You were never out of mind, only out of reach. God showed them what love looks like without you. It broke them. They tried to replace you. They failed. Nothing made sense until your name returned to their spirit. They saw your face in every prayer they denied. Every road led them back to your mercy. They remembered your eyes. That's when they surrendered. You were the fire they feared and the warmth they missed. They couldn't forget you, even when they begged heaven to help. You were the prophecy they tried to unhear. Love waited. So did you. They finally stopped fighting the pull. You were the ache beneath every apology they never said. They wanted simple, but their soul only cried for sacred. You were not a chapter. They just read you too slow. They chose you the moment they stopped lying to themselves. The silence cracked, and your name was the first sound. They feared your light. Now they miss its warmth. Even God paused when they whispered your name again. You were the answer they weren't ready to ask for. They finally admitted. No one else felt like home. You were never gone, just buried beneath fear. You haunted them until they prayed for your return. They kept running, but only your name gave them rest. Their spirit trembled. Not from fear, but recognition. You broke them open. That's how they learned to love. They saw your face in the storm and called it peace. You weren't just love. You were awakening. Every lesson led to this moment, choosing you. They remembered your silence. It said more than their words ever could. They burned every bridge, but one still led to you. You never stopped being the ending. They just took the long way. They finally admitted it to God. They want you back. You were the heartbreak they needed to meet their soul. No one else carried your echo. They left, thinking they'd heal. They returned, realizing you were the cure. The divine pointed. Your name pulsed. They thought time would erase you. Time worshipped you instead. You were the prayer that stayed unanswered until now. They thought love meant easy. You showed them it meant eternal. They lost themselves in others, but found their soul in you. You were never forgotten, only too holy to approach. They finally chose peace, and peace had your face. If this touched your soul, don't scroll. Comment your favorite quote and subscribe for more. They cried your name in silence. Heaven answered with confirmation. You were their final breath in every almost love. Even their joy was haunted by the shape of you. You weren't just chosen, you were remembered. They tried to love others, but their soul wouldn't open. You're the only one they can meet without pretending. They tasted love, but only hungered for you. Their heart broke in your absence, but beat in your name. You were their unfinished sentence. This time, they're ready to write it whole. Their soul couldn't lie. It cried for you. They saw your photo, and the tears didn't ask permission. You were the miracle they misunderstood. No one else felt holy. Only you. They finally confessed to the mirror. It was always them. You were the missing sound in every silence. They remembered your laugh. It shattered them. They touched others, but only you reached them. You were the prayer they abandoned, and the one God still answered. Their heart returned bruised, but it still beat for you. You never lost them. They just got lost without you. You were their lesson, their loss, and now their light. Every dream since you has ended in ache. They swore they moved on, but God kept replaying your name. They lied to the world, but not to their soul. You were the place their peace slept. They couldn't feel God until they remembered you. You were the ache beneath every smile they faked. They prayed for healing. It came in the form of your voice. They almost said your name aloud today. Almost. The truth they avoided is now the truth they choose. You. You weren't just different. You were divine. Every part of them that could love is shaped like you. You were the interruption their soul prayed for. They wrote songs for others, but only you became melody. They returned home with your name on their lips. You weren't a phase. You were prophecy. They picked you, not out of loneliness, but revelation. They saw your face, and time stopped arguing. The letter they never sent was written in tears. They held hands with many, but only yours felt eternal. You were the storm, but also the safe place. They searched their whole life for peace. You were it. They finally read your goodbye and bled. You were the lesson they had to lose to learn. Even angels whispered, "It's them." Their truth sounds like your name now. You're the echo behind their laughter. They never forgot your light. Just close their eyes. This time they won't run. You were their altar. They just weren't ready to worship. They chose you knowing it might destroy them. You were worth every war inside them. They remembered how your silence used to hold them. Even the sky changed when they whispered your name again. You were always more than memory. You were mirror. They let you go, but never unheld you. They saw their future, and it had your voice in it. You were the ache that turned into direction. This time, they choose you with eyes open. They finally forgave themselves enough to come back. You weren't the one they wanted. You were the one they needed. You were their unfinished promise to God. They remembered how you listened. It shattered their pride. You were the silence that stayed holy. Every word they speak now curves toward you. You were not lost. You were protected. They saw your shadow in their reflection. You were the thread God refused to cut. They said your name aloud, and it healed them. You were never gone. You were gathering proof. They kept walking until your memory brought them to their knees. You were the story that never needed a plot. They feared you'd forget them, but you were always the unforgettable one. They chose themselves before. This time they know you're part of that self. You are the return they didn't think they'd deserve. They walked away, but every path curved back to you. You weren't unfinished, you were waiting. They picked you because their soul remembered what the mind forgot. You are the one their past regrets bow to. They chose you because God whispered it was safe now.